talk. Yeah, with the main Chip Washington. It's real talk. Man, it's real talk with your main Chip Washington. When it comes to information, the main got an arsenal. Bring you up to speed with what you need. He's the local and nationwide news feed. Let's talk about it. Dialect to do something about it. Chip got the floor wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
And here we go on this Monday. It is the 4th day of April 2022. Real Talk Memphis is on the air. Very happy to have you with us for the next 60 minutes or so, where you will be both informed and entertained. Should I think a joke or two between, points of time. This is your humble host, Chip Washington here. Glad to have you with us, as I stated before. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you had a pretty good 7 days since the last time we were able to chat with each other. We have a good show for you tonight. And before we get into all of that, there are several ways you can actually reach us. First and foremost, we're live on the following, 91.7 on your FM dial, WYXR. We are also live on the WYXR app. Just go to it and hit listen live, and you'll hear us. And we are also live on the TuneIn app, TUNEIN. And yes, we do this little thing called Facebook Live. And a bit later on, we will post the show once it's over to YouTube. And finally, as we are a podcast, you can hear us anywhere in the country after they post the show tomorrow, coast to coast, wherever you get your podcast. So now you are informed, at least from that aspect of things. So today is April 4th, and it is a very significant day, not only in the history of Memphis, but the history of this country. April 4th, just about this time, 6 o'clock in the evening, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, not too far from here at Crosstown Concourse, and he was assassinated. He died officially about 7 o'clock, about an hour after he was actually shot. That, of course, changed the world, I would say, for the impact that he made right now, as they do each and every year. 54 years ago today, he was killed. They are having a special memorial ceremony for Dr. King at the Lorraine Motel. It is going on right now. So if you're in the vicinity, if you're in your car and you happen to be listening to us and you want to swing by the National Civil Rights Museum, there's a pretty good crowd down there. Dr. Reverend Jesse Jackson is here. Several other religious leaders are here as well to commemorate this day. Before we move on with this show, and I think we have a pretty good one as we start yet another month, we do what we always do. We celebrate you because, you only have one birthday a year, except for those of you who are greedy. You might want to, take 2 or 3 days, but you generally have one day of the year that you celebrate, you hold aside for your birthday. And we like to celebrate you and that trip around the sun that you made, but we can't do that until I say, hit it, Jack.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday goes out to the following folks. A lot of people today. Emily Harrison celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Latoya Danielle Williams. Jackie Hyman Manson. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tyrone Power Easley Sr. Dave Allen Brazelton. The Hot Spot Wing Cafe. I guess they're celebrating a work anniversary of some type today. Carrie Ham Lassane, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Bonnie Green, Dietrich Parrish, Vicky Butler, Jatonia Jordan Branch, Ludora Cooper, Tammy Warren, and Lola Wood. Happy birthday to each and every one of you. I hope it has been a special day, and I hope it will be a special evening. And we hope you join us next year, or we can join you next year as we celebrate another trip around the sun. Thank you, Jack. So we referenced a couple of minutes ago what everyone knows this day to be. It's a very sad day in American history. We also had another, I guess it would be notable to Memphis deaths. How many of you familiar with Stephon Smith? He was a local comedian here in town. Clean. He was an award-winning, comedian. Did a lot of shows and fairly well known. Well, he was tragically killed in an accident on March 31st of last week. So we send our sincere condolences to his family and his colleagues and all of his friends and all that knew him best. For sure. Very sad, the situation. I never knew him personally. We corresponded on Facebook a few times back in the day, but I was very shocked and surprised to hear of his passing. Before I move on, I wanted to say, since we're doing shout-outs, I wanted to shout out all of the 221 people who have graciously decided to be a member of the Real Talk Memphis radio show fans page on Facebook. It's on Facebook. So I'll say it again. It's kind of a long title. Real Talk Radio Show fans page. It's my page, and you just go there and just become a member. I'm not charging you. I'm not charging you yet. Maybe one day down the road, but right now you can get in on the low discount price of free. Just go subscribe to the page, support the show. It shows your support, and tell a friend if you like the page, if you like what we do. Check us out, and I would really appreciate you. But thank you for the ones who have done it so far. Let's get into some news and notes, shall we? Very tragic scenario, and I don't know if I will ever get past the point of one day not being able to start the show by saying something tragic has happened in this city. But a 13-year-old girl is dead after being shot at the Cedar Run Apartments. That was last Friday evening in Hickory Hill. It's become our city's new reality. Kids getting mowed down every week. We're always mourning the loss of a child, under 18 years and under. It seems like every week. This was a 13-year-old female. At least 8 children, and this is the first week of April, I'm sorry. 8 children have been murdered in this city this year, according to police. There were 4 suspects apparently running away from the scene of the shooting of the child, and police are still looking for those individuals. Remember I told you a week or so ago about Section 8 housing. Housing is a big issue in this town, or the lack of affordable housing is a big issue in this town. And the folks at the Memphis Housing Authority, had a sign up that you could go online to register for Section 8 housing and to be put in a waiting list for Section 8 housing. They anticipated thousands and thousands of applications. We are going to actually, my first guest is going to join me in just a few minutes. His name is Dexter Washington, another Washington in the house. He is the director of the Memphis Housing Authority, and we're going to talk to him about that. And we're going to talk to him about the housing situation in Memphis and how and what they are trying to do to make things a little bit better in terms of that and ease some of that pressure. So stay tuned for that in just a few minutes. The early voting situation in Memphis, there's a big election this year. The primaries in May, and the general is in August. Excuse me. Well, early voting starts next Wednesday, the 13th. And there are some early voting issues. 3 Memphis groups have filed a lawsuit against the Shelby County Election Commission, alleging violations of the Open Meetings Act, the Tennessee Constitution, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. What does all that mean? It basically says that they think that the commission's decisions will disenfranchise minority voters throughout the early voting in the upcoming county election. They only have one site that will be open for the first 2 days next week, which is Wednesday and Thursday, and that's the downtown location. And as I said, early voting begins on the 13th. Then it decided to open 5 other sites: the Agri Center, Arlington Safe Room, Baker Community Center, Dave Wells Community Center, and the Glenview Community Center on the 4th day of voting, early voting. And no other sites will be open until April 18th for the May 2022 primaries. I am efforting to get someone from the Shelby County Election Commission on the show next week to talk about this particular issue, because this is interesting, and it could cause a lot of folks a lot of problems down the road. Ketanji Brown Jackson is on her way to become the first Associate Supreme Court Justice of color to ever hold that esteemed position. She went before the Senate House Committee today, and they split down the middle, 11-4 and 11 against. But basically, they're going to have a vote sometime toward the end of the week, which is looks like it's going to be favorable for her to be confirmed as the next Associate Supreme Court Justice. So there was a mass shooting, it was really last night, I think it was last night or night before last, in Sacramento, California, where 6 people were killed and 12 people were wounded. There was some sort of an altercation at some big event, public event, and somebody started pulling out guns. They don't know exactly, meaning the law enforcement folks don't know exactly how this broke out or how many guns were used, but 6 lives were taken, innocent lives were taken. They did make 1 arrest in this case this afternoon, so we will follow that and let you know kind of what happens. So how many folks out there, show of hands, are into the show Yellowstone? Anybody ever heard of the show Yellowstone? It's a Western show. It's on Paramount Plus. It's a big deal. That show is, now see, Nicole's looking at me like I got 3 heads. You like the show? She's heard about the show. Lola, you heard about the show? Lola's busy traveling all over the country. She don't have time to watch local television. But anyway, Yellowstone is big in my house. I can tell you that, boy. If I did not know anything that was going on, it's like the 4th season of the show, and they just started streaming the 4th season. And my wife is a huge Yellowstone fan. A lot of you all out there as well. They are going to have a season 5. May hit the airways sometime later on this year, maybe first part of next year. We'll keep you posted. And finally, in sports, your Memphis Grizzlies are officially in the NBA playoffs. And they don't have an opponent yet, but they're going to finish in the number 2 seed. The tickets go on sale for 1 and 2, games 1 and 2, starting this Wednesday, April 6th. At 10 a.m. So get down there, camp out and do whatever you got to do to go get you some tickets. All MVP season ticket holders can get their first pick with a pre-sale on April 5th at 10 a.m. So Grizz are in it to win it. So go Grizz and show your support. I'm sure the FedEx Forum will be absolutely jam-packed. And the national championship for the men's basketball side will be decided tonight, North Carolina versus Kansas. So who you got? Anyway, hopefully it'll be a good game. I actually wanted Duke to wind up, Krzyzewski's, 40-plus year career as a coach in the finals, but did not happen. Can't cry with spilled milk. Time to move forward. Speaking of moving forward, as I said a few minutes ago, we have some really great guests. The first guest is joining me after the first break is Dexter Washington, the director of the Memphis Housing Authority, and we got a lot to talk about in terms of the housing situation here in Memphis and Shelby County and what his office is doing to try to help you all out and some of the programs and things that they have going on at the Memphis Housing Authority. We're going to talk a little bit later to Worth Morgan, a District 5 city councilman. A lot of issues going on in the city of Memphis, a lot going on, and we hadn't had a city councilman on the show in a while. So I thought I would extend the invitation to him, and he has graciously accepted. So we will be talking to Worth Morgan in just a little bit. And before we move too far, did you know that April is National Donate Life Month? Now, that means something to me. It didn't maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, but it does now. It's National Donate Life Month. And to honor that, we are going to have a man on the show who I've gotten to know a little bit in the process of donations and the whole process. His name is Lee Giovannetti, and he's going to join me in the second half hour of the show. He is a kidney donor, and he's going to talk about his story and why it is important for maybe all of us to think outside ourselves for so many who are sick. We are going to take our first break, however, and when we come back, we're going to get into the show. How about that? This is Real Talk Memphis. I am Chip. You know who you are. We'll take our first break. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
WYXR Stereo Sessions, presented by Nexair and Memphis, continues on with the Grifters' 1994 rock opus LP, Crappin' You Negative.
Sit and listen in the state-of-the-art Memphis Listening Lab as hosts Jimmy Yank and Andrea Lyle press play on the pivotal local cult classic.
The free event is made possible with a grant from Humanities Tennessee, along with support from Orion,
Memphis Listening Lab,
Via Productions,
Fat Possum Records,
and Shangri-La Records.
For more information, visit WYXR.org and subscribe to our weekly newsletter for RSVP announcements and updates.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday, April 4th. 2022. We were talking before the break a few minutes ago just about one of the housing situation here in Memphis is not unlike housing situations really all over the country. But we live in Memphis, and so we focus on Memphis and Shelby County, and it's challenging here. But we're thankful to have an organization that is dedicated to trying to alleviate some of the pressure and some of the issues that folks face. And I'm very happy to have with me the director of the Memphis Housing Authority. His name is Dexter Washington. Yes, another Washington. And Dexter, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Chip. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, we see stories all the time. We hear stories all the time, Dexter, about housing issues and housing shortages. And if you look around this town, they seem to be building left and right and left. So there clearly is no shortage of need for affordable housing, which is what you all deal with. Recently, you all had a program, the Section 8 vouchers, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That sign in and that whole process there. But talk to us a little bit about the challenges that are faced by folks trying to find affordable housing here in Memphis and Shelby County.
Right. So, right now, like other cities across the nation, Memphis is just in a very tight rental market.
Okay.
And a part of what is driving that shortage is we just have more demand than we have housing supply.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, and yes, you do see some construction, around the city. Not all of it is for everyone that can afford it, so Memphis Housing Authority serves a population of nearly 11,000 households, about 2,500 in our public housing program, and just under 8,500 in our housing choice voucher program.
Mm-hmm.
And the households that we serve, are of low to moderate income individuals. So, it's just the issue is just, trying to find housing that fits the income for those families.
I was talking to somebody the other day about this kind of in general, and I was really surprised to hear that many households, and let's talk about the lower income households, end up paying somewhere 30%, maybe 40% of their total household income just to keep a roof over their head. Is there any accuracy in that statement?
It is actually, and that is how HUD defines affordability. Housing affordability is 30% of your adjusted monthly income. So, and we generally try to keep households from exceeding the 40% mark. And I know I get it. That sounds like a lot, but we have some households that where, particularly in our lower income families, where the only income may just be a SSI check, or it may be employment income, but just it's just not very high. So, but yeah, those are the rental affordability guidelines.
If you're just joining us, we are speaking with Dexter Washington. He is the director, and he heads the Memphis Housing Authority here in our city, and we're talking about some of the challenges that many folks face in terms of affordable housing in the city. Now, Dexter, tell us about the event that you all had, a pre-application process that you all had recently in terms of the Section 8 voucher program and what that's all about.
Right. So it was just time for us to open our housing choice voucher waiting list, or AKA Section 8. We last opened it in the fall of 2017, and at that time we got about 30,000 applicants, of which we randomly selected 15,000. And it took us nearly 5 years to work through that waiting list. So we wanted to decrease that number this year so that it wouldn't take so long to get through it, and we can open it up a little bit sooner to allow for more opportunity. So we opened the list Monday morning, March 25th. And March 21st, and we held it open for 5 days until the 25th at 5 o'clock. During that time period, we accepted just over 26,000 pre-applicants. Right now, we're going through the validation process to see exactly how many applications that we have. We have to make sure that we don't have duplicate applications, and that all of the applications that we receive have valid email addresses so we can contact them in the future.
So you'll whittle that down to how many? Did you say? I'm sorry if you did.
Yeah. So the new waiting list will be 10,000. So it'll be a random selection of 10,000 pre-applicants that'll go on the new waiting list.
Do you think that it's going to take about as long as it took from the initial time you did this back in 2017 to be able to kind of filter through all of this?
No, that was part of the strategy for making the list smaller this go around.
Right.
Is that we didn't want to wait another 4.5 years before we took more applicants in for the program. We anticipate that we will get through this list in 2 to 3 years rather than 4 to 5.
Okay. So I have a question that was asked me on my Facebook Live line here, and I don't know if it's something that you can address, but I'll ask it anyway. A constituent would like to know how long does it take, or how long it takes to be approved for the FSS program.
Okay.
And what is that, by the way? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
Okay. So the FSS program stands for Family Self-Sufficiency, And it's a program that we operate on both our public housing and housing choice voucher side.
Okay.
That allows residents to, as their income increases, rather than that increase in income impacting their tenant portion of rent, we escrow the money that would go for the rent increase. And we work with the tenants to make goals for what they want to use that escrow savings for. So some of our tenants, want to use it to further their education. Some, have home ownership in mind. And so they want to use it for a down payment on their house. And so the program helps to save for those goals and also prepare them for whatever the end goal is.
Well, that's interesting. And speaking of that, as I was going through your website, you have a lot of programs that really that target various types of individuals or type of individual needs. Can you kind of go over some of the programs that are available through the Memphis Housing Authority?
Sure. So, of course, we have our traditional public housing program where MHA or some of our development partners own and operate facilities where we have public housing units. We also have our housing choice voucher program, which we provide subsidy for our residents to find housing in the private market with private landlords. There are different subsections of our Section 8 program, our housing choice voucher program. One is called a mainstream voucher, and it allows assistance for non-elderly individuals with disabilities. Another program is the Family Unification Program, where it looks to provide assistance for individuals that are aging out of foster care. So, and then in addition to that, right now, Memphis Housing Authority is, because of change in regulations at HUD and also just there being a growth in the housing choice voucher program and not so much in public housing program. We're doing what's called a Rad Conversion for some of our public housing sites. Rad is a program that HUD offers called Rental Assistance Demonstration. And what it allows us to do is to switch the funding platform from Section 9, aka public housing, to Section 8, where it's just a more stable platform moving forward. And it also allows us to make wide scale renovations to a lot of our public housing properties that just have collected deficiencies over the years. We only get so much money per year in capital funding to make repairs. And so it becomes a cherry picking contest. Okay, do we replace the roof or do we replace carpet? And those things tend to build over the years. But this program allows us an opportunity to make wide scale changes across our public housing developments. So
there are some available options, that you all offer. And before I let you go, please let our folks know how they can reach you via phone, via email, or how they can contact you for any information or questions that they may have. Absolutely. So the main line for Memphis Housing Authority is 544-1102. Okay. And additionally, if you have questions related to the housing choice voucher program, you can call 544-1347. And if you, of course, need to reach any of us by email, we have on our website at memphishousing.org, we have email addresses for all of the departments that you would need to reach. Absolutely excellent. Dexter Washington, Director of the Memphis Housing Authority. Dexter, thank you for coming on Real Talk tonight and talking with our listeners. Really appreciate you. And if there's any thing that you want to share with our audience down the road, programs or other things that we should be made aware of, you're always welcome back. Yep, I really appreciate it. Thanks, man. Have a good night. You too. All right. Dexter Washington, ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Memphis Housing Authority. That's, as he said, he was, very straight up. That we do have a lot of issues in this city and in this county in reference to housing and Section 8 housing. But the Memphis Housing Authority is there to try to help in any way they can. Before I go to break, two things. Lola informed me that we are in the midst of Ramadan, so happy Ramadan. And if I wasn't supposed to say happy Ramadan, don't blame me, blame Lola. I'll give you her contact information after the show. Speaking of that, also, I want to say hi to Sarah Gum. She's watching. Shalisa Cox is checking us out, as is Cassandra Corbin Blake. My son David is checking us out tonight. I guess he must like the show a little bit. David Mann is watching as well. And I know I saw him on here. There he is. Carlos Rogers Sr. is checking us out tonight. Thank you all. Appreciate it. If you haven't signed up, go to the, what's the name of it? Real Talk Memphis Radio fans show page and become a member. We're going to take our quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk city politics with City Councilman Worth Morgan. This is Real Talk Memphis. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page, and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody.
On April
we'll be
7th
right back.
From 6 to 8 p.m. Job candidates will gather with educators of all experience levels and network with school officials from across the city looking for teachers, administrators, coaches, support staff, and more. RSVP information for the free job fair is at teach901.com.
Grammy Award-winning folk band Punch Brothers, led by mandolinist Chris Thiele, take on the Germantown Performing Arts Center Wednesday, June 22nd. Tickets are available now to see one of the most decorated modern string bands. For more information, visit memphapresents.com.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday. Very happy to have you with us, and very happy to have my next guest with us. And I have to admit, having been to more than my share of Memphis City Council meetings, they have a lot to talk about, and there is a lot on the plate. We're a big city, and there's a lot of things that have to be addressed. And I'm very happy to have with me tonight. This is the first time he's been on this show. I'm very happy to have District 5 City Councilman Worth Morgan joining me on Real Talk. And Councilman, thanks so much for being with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chip.
So, you know, when we think about, everything that goes into running a city of this size, there's a lot that goes into it. And there are a lot of challenges as well. And you all, members of the City Council, are really the deciders of a lot of what goes on around here. Tell me, if you will, how challenging it's been so far this year, and what you are going to have to tackle as time continues to move forward.
Yeah, no, obviously the challenges we're facing are pretty immense in Memphis. And there's some of the things that we face are things that societies have been dealing with for hundreds and thousands of years, as long as you've had government. When you talk about economic development, you talk about poverty, you talk about crime.
Yeah. And
then obviously the pandemic of the last few years was a new wrinkle that no one expected,
right,
and no one was talking about, when they ran 3 or 4 years ago. And so you hope that you've got enough people that run for office that are good, that are qualified, and are able to, work through these issues, and you have a functioning government. Obviously, we have got 13 people on the council. Sometimes we're in agreement about what needs to be done. There's not a lot of debate, and we can move forward. But sometimes it is a split vote, and it's not, one side and another. Sometimes you've got 13 different opinions, and it can be very difficult to navigate. The big focus for me has and always will be public safety. Until we get that under control, I think especially what we've seen in the last 2 years, we have got far too many victims that are being created in our community and not enough accountability. And it all begins with accountability. And this is from the small issues, whether it be, the litter and the illegal dumping that's going around the city, to juveniles who are acting out at a level that we hadn't seen before, to even the heavier stuff when we're talking about the shootings and the murders that, again, are reaching levels that we haven't seen in 15 years.
We talk about that, and I opened my show with an unfortunate news statistic or another statistic in that a 13-year-old female child was killed over the weekend at an apartment complex in Hickory Hill, and you're right. We're starting to see, I think, a level of violence that's is almost becoming uncontrollable. And it's not a me problem, it's a we problem. And I know that every time something like this happens, everyone wants to get together and have a conversation about it, and what do we do, and how do we fix it, and how do we solve the problems. But, it seems like we're burying a young child in particular, every week. And I know you're a father of some very young children, that this, has to trouble you. I know that public safety has been a big issue of yours, but in particular, what we've seen and the level of what we've seen, the level of disrespect for law enforcement and just for each other all around has really got to trouble you some.
Yeah, and I think my friends and family that are listening would be surprised to hear you say that I'm the father of some young children. I haven't had kids yet.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh, okay, all right.
got married 2 years ago. My wife and I, we've got a dog, and we hadn't started the family yet. But no, I
apologize. I apologize for that. I'm sorry.
And I'm coming towards the end of my time on city council, with term limits, no matter what occurs this year. And I think the number one thing I'm going to look back on that is going to be the most difficult is that we haven't been able to move the needle like we needed to in order to protect the community. I mean, it hurts. This is something that keeps me up at night. And we've had votes in front of the city council, I think, in terms of public safety that could have made the streets safer, that could have done a better job for the community, and we haven't always been successful. In 2 weeks, the mayor is going to present a budget, and we're going to see whether public safety is a priority. We are down a lot of officers, and no matter what you want to pursue in terms of the future of the Memphis Police Department, in terms of community policing, whether it's broken windows theory policing, all these different strategies, you can't do it without an adequate number of officers. And we're so short right now that really it's our department that is handcuffed rather than the bad guys.
If you're just joining us, we are speaking with City Councilman District 5 Worth Morgan is joining us on Real Talk. And again, Councilman, forgive the faux pas about your children because, but if I clean it up, I say, I think when you and your wife do decide to have children, if that is the plan, you'll be a great father. So anyway, we'll just.
Thank you very much. Nieces and nephews and godchildren all over the place.
There you go.
No kids yet.
There you go. Okay, so recently the folks up in Nashville kind of decided for us about this residency plan, kind of opening that up. First of all, how do you feel about that?
I think it's necessary. Obviously, I would love for Memphis to be a community where everybody says, this is where I want to, start my family, to make a home, to build a business. But there are some people for a multitude of different reasons that have chosen to live otherwise. Maybe they want a more rural lifestyle. Maybe it's something related to their spouse or where their kids go to school, that they don't live in the city of Memphis. And when I look at how short we are in police officers, we have to have an adequate complement. And as long as their heart is in the right place and, their butt's getting the job done, I don't care nearly as much where they lay their head at night. I've never called 911. I've never heard of anyone calling 911 and asking the fire department or the police department, what neighborhood they live in. Yes, it would be ideal. And I think it would be better for the community if we had those public safety officers day in, day out, more visible in the community. And that would be more stabilizing factor. But the number one responsibility right now is to try to reduce the crime, to try to keep people safe, and we can't do it with the levels we have. So expanding residency was a way to increase our recruiting pool by 30 to 40%, and it cost us $0. A lot of other efforts we're going to make to expand recruiting, to get more officers, have a pretty significant expense to it. And again, if it doesn't work out or it's not, we're not seeing the product that we want in terms of our recruiting classes, we can make adjustments. But I think this is something that had to be tried.
If you were to think about it, in terms of, I know you represent quite a few thousand constituents out there. What are some of the issues that you either get called on or emailed or contacted in any particular way? What are people talking about out there that they want you as the councilman that represents them to try to address?
The city council is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And every week is an interesting new issue. And that's kind of one of the fun things about it in terms of delving into what's important to the 95,000 people that I represent.
Wow.
And it can be all over the place. Obviously, a big one that we had in February was the ice storm. And my district was hit harder than just about any other district in the city, with old trees, and people were without power for 10 or 11 days. And so we talk about the stability of MLGW and how reliable is our power and the infrastructure, and making sure that it is in place and that our communication's in place, and that the customer service level is up to par, what people deserve to have. And so that was a conversation that really dominated February. March has been a little more quiet. People are getting out. The weather's turning good. They're out in the parks, and they're starting to see the litter and the trash. And like I mentioned earlier, the illegal dumping, and that's a frustration. Right. They're ready to be outside again, and they want their streets to be clean. So we're having a big discussion about that tomorrow.
So, back to MLGW for a moment. That has been a hot button issue for God knows how many years in terms of the infrastructure. We all know it's poor. It's old. It needs to be replaced. How do we do it? What's the cost? Are they going to be sold up? MLGW. I mean, these are some pretty serious questions that have to be, that are being posed, and ultimately, I guess, have to be decided by the council. Am I correct?
Eventually, there are multiple levels where you've got MLGW management, and you've got an MLGW board of 5 members that makes a lot of their decisions.
Okay.
But ultimately, the biggest decisions in terms of contracting the budget will flow to the city council for approval. So we have a level of oversight that allows us to be involved, in the day-to-day. And at the end of it is a division of the city of Memphis. It is owned by the city of Memphis.
Right.
And we do whatever we can to keep those rates as low as we can for the ratepayer, and then provide the best and reliable service. And sometimes providing reliable service has an additional cost to it. But we know the pressures people are under. They're trying to pay the utility bill, the rent bill, and the grocery bill at the same time. Yeah. And we are very, very sensitive to that. I think that is a benefit of the city of Memphis owning MLGW, is that we do have a nonprofit focus in mind the way we run it, in the sense where there's no corporate entity that's taking 12% off the top. There are no shareholders. The focus first and foremost is the ratepayer.
Last question for you. You said that your term is eliminated, and your term is about to be up in just a few months, and we don't know what the future holds in terms of your plans. But are you proud of the work that you have done? I mean, can you leave the city council thinking that some things that we need to fix, but overall, I feel fairly good about where we're going to leave it?
Ooh, that is a tough, reflective question. And I haven't fully worked through that. I would say there have definitely been some votes that have been heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. The majority of budgets that we have had, I have voted against. A good example is I voted against the public safety budget last year because I didn't think it was adequate enough. I didn't think it was enough to get the job done in terms of our priorities.
Right.
So I certainly wish things had gone differently in some of the decisions that have been made at council while I've been there. Mm-hmm. Maybe I could have said something different. Maybe, you could have presented an alternative argument that would have swayed the room. But overall, what I've loved the most is the interaction with the public. Not necessarily my 12 colleagues on a city council day where we're hammering out legislation and arguing, but the other 13 days in between a city council meeting where you're in the street, in the park, at the community center, dealing one-on-one with the constituent that's in need. That has been the absolute joy and the fulfilling part of this job. And I will miss that. And I love the relationships and the people that I've gotten to know throughout this process. And that I hope to, continue with and keep going with as long as I can, or people allow here in our community.
City Councilman Worth Morgan, representing District 5. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on the show. More importantly, thank you for what you do each and every day on all of our behalfs as a member of the City Council. I'm sure we'll be talking again down the road. Thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Chip.
All right, take care. Have a good night. City Councilman Worth Morgan, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot going on here, a lot of issues that they have to deal with on a daily basis, and they're doing the work. That's for sure, and we have to continue to hold them accountable, as we are the ones who vote them into office. Thank you for coming on, Councilman Morgan. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk with a young man who I have really grown to admire over the last few months. As I stated earlier, April is National Donate Life Month, and the man I'm going to speak to knows a little bit about donating and how important it is and how special it is. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. I hope you come right back. We're going to take a quick break. See you in a minute.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Memphis Listening Lab proudly supports WYXR. They provide a curated collection of music and music history, a forum for music-related talks and performances, and a music education, appreciation, and experimentation space located in Crosstown Concourse. The lab is open Tuesday through Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can find out more information on their Instagram page at Memphis Listening Lab or on their website at memphislisteninglab.org.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to the big broadcast on this Monday evening. Glad to have you along with us. And I need to set this up before I bring in my next guest. As I stated earlier, April is National Donate Life Month, and that didn't mean a whole lot to me before November 23rd of last year when I was able to donate a kidney to someone in order for my wife to receive a kidney that she desperately needed because of her kidney disease. Well, the young man I'm about to talk with, he was the inspiration for that, because I don't know if you remember a few months ago, there was a story in the Daily Memphian featuring Lee Giovannetti and his friend who was in desperate need of a kidney. And Lee was a very determined individual and said, at first he couldn't find a match. His friend couldn't find a match. There was a lot of other issues. There were health issues. There were this and that. And Lee was a very determined fella and said, look, whatever I can do to try to help him, you just need to sign me up to do that. And long story short, he did become a kidney donor, and I leaned on him for inspiration and some education. So please welcome to Real Talk, Lee Giovannetti. And Lee, I haven't talked in a while, but how are you, my friend?
Oh, man, I'm the top of the world. I'm doing great.
Well, look, it is.
And I know you're doing well, too.
I am. Thank you so much. And thank you for being on the show and talking a little bit about this. You were the first person I thought of, when this time came around. because as I stated, your story provided so much hope and inspiration, not only to so many people, but in particular, to me and Wanda's story as well. And when I saw the story and I read the story about the courageous donation that you made to help Clemenzo, I had to reach out to you. So I called, David at the newspaper and asked him if he could put us in touch. And from the time I first talked to you about this whole process, you laid it out for me, you explained it in detail. And I really want to thank you for all of your help, your support, and your prayers in this effort.
Well, Chip, I appreciate it, but I kind of look at that like I look at having the opportunity to extend Clemenzo's life and change his daily life. I'm privileged. I was glad to be able to be in a position to talk to you about it, and the end result that you and Wanda got was a blessing to me, frankly.
Well, it really was. And, of course, I remember we all talked right before, the operation day on the 23rd of November. And even Clemenzo talked to her as well about this. But, having gone through the experience that now both of us have gone through, talk a little bit about that whole experience and really how it left you as a person, not only to be able to help, but the aftermath of it all.
Well, your radio show may not have enough time for me to answer that question, but I'll give you kind of the short and sweet.
Okay.
I had a brain tumor back in 2000, and I had brain surgery, and it wasn't supposed to work out very well for me, and obviously it did. And we all believed that it was a miracle at that point in time. My family believed that, as did I. And my friend Clemenzo was very, very involved in helping us get through that process, with our faith. Mm-hmm. So fast forward to this particular situation. And, I didn't know anything about it, never gave it any thought, never did any research per se until the situation came up. And frankly, I've always wondered, what it's like to basically change somebody's life. I'm a businessman, never had that opportunity. Have friends that are physicians. I have a friend that runs the Shelby County Drug Court, and I always have told, I'm on his board, and I've always told Judge Dwyer, I'd love to spend one day in your shoes and know what it's like to change someone's life and change their family's life. And
right.
That opportunity came along, frankly, for me to be in a position to be able to do that. And it didn't really require a whole lot of, once I found out I was able to, from a health perspective, and I knew from a little bit of the research that I had done that, these things were not, they had very, very high degree of success. The physician that did my procedure, and I think he did yours too, the same guy that did Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. So I figured if it was good enough for Jobs and he evaluated the risk, it's good enough for me. So that's really kind of it in a nutshell. And I have always viewed it as an honor and a privilege. And it's just great every day to maybe know you played a little bit of a part in changing people's lives.
Absolutely. And, I think the thing about all of this that was really, as I was getting into it, as I was talking to you and doing my own research and, kind of, preparing for all of this. And as I told folks, I had to lose, about 30 pounds and, I had to get my blood pressure regulated in order to be able to qualify for all of the tests. Because as you well know, they give you, you go through a lot of testing in advance
right.
to as a donor or potential donor. But a lot of folks don't really know that there are other options available in terms of organ donation. Now, in terms of the kidney, this pairing program is really something that I really don't think a lot of people know about, Lee, and I think that more people really should check that aspect out in terms of trying to maybe help somebody.
No, I totally agree with you, Chip. I never, like I said, I I never knew anything about this, never crossed my mind. And then when it turned out that I wasn't a good match for Colenso, and I wasn't going to be able to, his body would not accept my kidney. That was a real downer after what we had gone through. And then when I learned about the National Kidney Registry, which is the program, it just seemed to make so much sense to me. I mean, and people ask, well, did you ever hesitate because your friend wasn't getting your kidney?
Right.
And I tell them, never even gave that any thought, because it really wasn't all about him having my organ. That wasn't really what it was all about. It was all about him needing an organ to better the quality or extend the quality of his life. And I had an organ that, basically would make that happen. And that was really all there was to it. And when you really do the research, I mean, I think they told me that my kidney donation, there was a chain of, I think, 7 or 8 people that benefited from that process.
Right.
I mean, that's like getting a 4 or 5 to 1. So for me, it's just amazing, really.
It really is, and before I let you go, and I thought it was very important to have you on, and I'm going to do more stories about this before the end of the month. I know Wednesday is National Donor Day, and they're going to have a ceremony at Methodist Hospital at the flagpole there, where they raised the flag there in honor of those of us who have donated. It was life-changing for me, as it was for you, and not only being able to directly donate a kidney to someone I may never know, but which allowed her, Wanda, through the chain to be able to get hers the same day was absolutely just extraordinary for me. And I just want to say thank you, and I said it to you many times, but publicly to say thank you for you and your wife and your family and Clemenzo for being so supportive of us in this process. I mean, it was a challenging process to be sure, but you walked me through every single step of it. You told me what was going to happen, what to expect, and that we would bounce back. And things have gone well. She's doing very well, and back to work. As a matter of fact, today was her first day back to work, and
wow.
I'm hanging in there for old dude myself. So thank you for everything you've done to help me. Thank you for us.
Well, look, Chip, thank you, and you maybe experience it one day. We got a lot of satisfaction and felt great after it was over with. Though it was kind of over, and frankly, when you called me, and my wife and I would pray about you and pray about Wanda and hope it would work. So when it worked for you, it was almost kind of like going through it again without having to check into the hospital. We got a lot of benefit out of your process.
Wow. Well, listen, man, thank you for coming on Real Talk, man. I really appreciate you, and like I say, I wish you nothing but the best of health, and Clemenzo down the road as well. But thanks for coming on, man. And you be safe.
Chip.
Okay, take care of yourself, man.
You too, buddy.
All right,
take care, man.
Right,
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Well, what a way to end the show. Now, as Jack plays us out of here, I just want to encourage all of you. There's a lot of folks with a lot of needs out here. Lots. A lot of health needs, critical health needs, serious health needs. And I don't know if it's something that you all feel interested in, wanting to be a part of, being an organ, to donate an organ. But you might want to give it a shot. You might want to think about it. You might want to do some research on it. You might want to check it out, because there are so many people who are just waiting for someone to open up their heart and say, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help another person. So in the meantime, if the Lord says so, we'll be back here, same time, same station, same chair, and we'll try to do it all over again. I thank all my guests for being here tonight. It was a great show, and I hope you thought so as well. So for Jack, for Lola, for Nicole, and for me, from all of us here at Real Talk, I'm Chip, and I'm out.